Hey guys, welcome back for another complex combo. I thought I'd share something funny. It seems like every week when I have to go travel for work, something funny happens. This time it's not a bad date story. Uh, so I decided to go down to the bar here at the hotel, and there's several people sitting at the bar engaged in conversation. And I'm good sitting there by myself, order a drink or whatever. But these two, a man and a woman, are having a conversation about what's a traditional relationship, their pet peeves in relationships. I don't know if they were getting to know each other or they were co-workers or whatever the case was. But what tickled me was they started getting into this heated exchange because the man said he was no longer interested in cohabitating with someone. He wanted a lifelong partner, but he was perfectly fine with them living separate. And I'm down with that. They're not talking to me, so I'm not really in their conversation, but I kind of had, my face tells you that I was listening. And I'm smirking and I'm laughing, and the lady, was like clutching her pearls, like, how is that a lifelong partner if you two don't live together? And so she turns to me and she says, well, what do you think? Did you hear what he said? And I said, no, what did he say? He wants a lifelong partner, but he doesn't want to live with them. And I said, well, I had this conversation with a friend of mine who happened to be a male. So I get that and I understand it, and I'm actually on the same page. I said, I've been married a few times. So you get to a point where you've made a few mistakes in your life. And so what looks like a traditional relationship, the picture changes a little bit. Have your fun if you think, cohabitating, getting married, and living together happily ever after in their house and white picket fence is what you want. Hey, more power to you if that works for you. But as for me, it does not. So she's now baffled that we're sitting on either side of her and we are not agreeing with her. And I said, look, I had a friend who would tell me years ago, what her idea of a perfect relationship was, that she wanted a husband, but she did not want them to reside in the same house. I, thinking like my new friend here at the bar, that's ridiculous. Why would you want to marry somebody, but yet you don't want to be with them? You want to be together, but not together, visit each other, but not live under the same roof. That didn't make sense to me. I said, you clearly aren't ready for a committed relationship. That was me and my judgment at that time. Now, fast forward, after having made several attempts at being married 3 times, I might add, I tend to think a little differently. So you've been through some things and you experienced some things and you've paid for some things, and your idea of a perfect relationship has changed. Now, the funny part of this relationship conversation, I don't know how many of you have seen Kevin Hart's documentary on Netflix. Don't F this up. But he said something that tickled me pink. His friend was getting married for the second time, as Kevin has been married now for the second time. And he told him, look, you know what they say, the first is the worst, the second is the best, and the third is on you. I laughed until my stomach hurt because I have surpassed Kevin and his friend. I've been through the first and the second and the third. Yes, the third was on me. Message received. So my idea of a relationship and what I would consider a traditional relationship for me is that we are lifelong partners, but we do not live together. I don't want to pick up after another male. I had 3 boys and a male dog and a male bird and another male dog. I don't want to pick up after anybody else. I don't want to do anybody else's laundry. I don't want to have to be responsible for sharing dishwashing tasks. Did you make up your side of the bed? Are we making up the bed together? Is your side of the room clean versus my side, vice versa? Who's sharing what closet? Do you have enough room? Do I have to? I don't want to share space. Have a lot of shoes. I have a lot of clothes, even though, women say they don't have a lot of clothes. I have a list of things that I just don't want, and I don't want that. I don't want that. Did you feel the passion behind what I said? I don't want that. So that's not a traditional relationship for me, to be bound under one roof with someone. Now, what I do consider a traditional relationship, we can be in a monogamous relationship and reside in 2 different places. I visit you on some weekends, you visit me on some weekends, we travel together, we have fun together, but we go home to our respective places and we are allowed to miss each other. That way, when we get on each other's nerves because we've been together too long, you go home, I go home. No harm, no foul. I explained to her that to me is a traditional relationship. That does not mean that I don't respect relationships and monogamy and commitment and things like that. She was just dumbfounded. Although she did at the end see that we both had valid points. However, she had not been married before. So why are you even having this conversation with two folks who have been married more than twice and you have not been married before? Do you, boo? Do you? That's what this should be called. Do you, boo? Do you? That tickled me. Then we moved on to pet peeves. Now, I don't know if she's dating, if she's considering dating, or she's just gone through a breakup, but she has some very pointed questions in regards to relationships. What was a traditional relationship? What that looked like? The living situation, cohabitating, getting married. And now you want to talk about pet peeves. Now, I don't know about you, but pet peeves vary from person to person. I think I can speak for most women. We don't want a liar. We don't want a liar. Somebody that lies about everything. You lie about where you've been, where you came from, how you grew up. Come on now. If you're lying about stupid stuff like that, you lie about the small stuff, you're going to lie about the big stuff. And I don't even want to hear your small lies, okay? So I told her, number one pet peeve for me is lying. And can you believe that was not her number one pet peeve? Her number one pet peeve is how the individual eats. Now that may be on the list for me or for you, how an individual eats. Do they talk with their mouths full? Do they have food flying out all over the place? I remember one time I was so smitten with a person, and it was a long distance relationship. And I went to visit him one time. We went out to eat, steakhouse. I think for me that's a test to go to the steakhouse. But anyway, went to the steakhouse. He ordered this nice thick steak and cut it up real good. But by the time he got to eating, I'm thinking, what is all this on my napkin that's sitting on my lap and all on the table next to my plate? He got food flying all over the place. And he wasn't even talking. He just was a sloppy eater. He ate with his mouth open. That is so irritating. Anyway, so pet peeves for me in this conversation, I told her, was lying. Now, I'll say bad grammar. Not that I speak perfect English, nor do I write in perfect English, although I do write. But I blame my mom for this. My mom would purposely, if I said something incorrectly, if I said, Mom, I ain't got, she'll say, what? I ain't got, huh? I don't have, oh, okay. She didn't understand me if I was speaking improperly. And I did it to my kids, and I'm sure they'll do it to theirs. And I have a tendency to do it when I'm talking with someone. Now, we have moments where, we're joking and we say things wrong. We use slang. Forgiving all of that, I'm talking in regular one-on-one conversation. If you just typically speak in bad English, don't tell me that you were an honor roll student in an English class. I'm not falling for that. That's a pet peeve for me. But hers, and I don't even remember her name. I think it was Mary. Something basic. But anyway, Mary, I'll call her. Her number one pet peeve was the way that an individual ate. The male that we were talking to, his number one pet peeve was a woman with bad hygiene, who did not keep her nails clean, whose hair wasn't clean, whose appearance wasn't tidy. He didn't require that she dress from head to toe in name brand, and she didn't have to have her nails done at the nail shop every week, but that she was clean. I get that. We all want cleanliness. Anyway, so this was the conversation, or the topic of conversation at the bar at my hotel on a Monday. Mind you, I've been up since 2 a.m. That was a little deep for me. I wasn't ready for that. And depending on how tired I could have been, that conversation could have went completely left. I probably would have been in a bad mood with a whole bunch of negative things to say. But in either case, not in a negative headspace, but what are your pet peeves? What are the things that people do that absolutely get on your nerves that would make you say, you know what, I don't want to talk to, deal with, or ever see or speak to this person ever again? And what do you think is a picture of a traditional relationship? Now, I left a whole spectrum off of there because I support everybody in the LGBTQAA plus. And I probably missed a couple of letters, but I respect everyone. You know, you love who you love, as long as you're respectful to one another. So a traditional relationship, what we were raised up and taught at home and in church, is not what the average traditional relationship is out there in the world. So what say you? What do you consider a traditional relationship? Do you have to live with the person? Have you been married more than once or twice? Would you consider living with another person again? Do you miss that? I think, personally, you can have companionship without being up under somebody. I have learned a lot about me in dating myself, that I like being by myself sometimes. I do like company for a little bit. I do want to see you and have fun and then go home. But for others out there, you may want to be up under, breathe and look and see and touch and feel and just be all engrossed in that person all the time. And hey, if that works for you, do you. Do you. Don't let anybody else define what your traditional relationship is. However, when you meet somebody, make sure you're on the same page, that you're traditional and their traditional match. Okay? Till next time, it's your girl.